You're driving me to drink
Yes.
with this segment.
New for 96. With your hosts, Kevin McCauley and Chris Nguyen.
Do you like your artisan ice, by the way? Actually, yours is already
Yeah,
pretty much gone.
I loved it.
Yeah,
It was delicious.
I had forgotten to make ice. I usually make the giant cubes of ice for the whiskey, and I forgot to do that because we drank yesterday and used up all the ice.
Make a sound.
Yeah, listen to the quality of the clinking and the clanking at that. So, this is like perfectly clear ice. I bought ice. It felt a little bit dumb because it was like $8 for 6 cubes.
You came in with a box of ice. You said, "I got to put this in the freezer right away."
Yeah, well, it was the directions
like a
were on the
cardboard
label.
box of ice.
Yeah, they're carefully packaged, each
Triple
with its
boxed.
own triple boxed. Yeah, and anyways, we ran into each other at the alcohol store.
Yeah,
Because
it's
I had
it's literally a new for 96 miracle because of a miscommunication or me misinterpreting. We may never know. It was one of the two.
Yeah,
But we both went to Specs. We both bought scotch. So
it was a very like sitcom situation because I'm trying to hurry because I know that you're headed to the house, and I pull into the parking lot, and lo and behold, there is like a silver IS Sport Cross. Of course, that could be one of many hundreds of thousands that are in the city.
yes,
But the Ocelot
yes,
license plate really gave it away that it was your car.
Mm-hmm.
And so, once again,
Yeah.
we meet each other in...
I came I came out of the store into the parking lot and saw an E63 wagon,
one of several hundred thousand in the
several
city.
100,000 in the city with a Montrose, Colorado sticker
Yes.
on the window.
Yes. And we met this sounds problematic, but we met at a bar.
Yeah.
We met at an industry event
Yes.
it was like a design industry event, and like instead of talking about like design or the industry,
Yeah.
we just talked about cars like the entire night.
Like
So-
I literally went there to I don't know, like meet contacts. I actually did meet someone I actually did get work from going to one of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is weird because you'd think like if it's only designers and art directors like meeting each other, how does this help you? But I guess there was like this company. And they had some people come like literally looking for designers there, and they went, and so it worked. I mean, I did stuff for them for like a year.
That was the first time. I think that was the first time I'd ever gone to that event, and I was so hesitant because like as soon as I walked in, there were little sticky pads. The "Hello, my name is" sticky
Yeah.
pads, not in an ironic way, and
Right.
so I nearly turned around, and our
Oh.
friendship almost never existed as a result of that. So,
Look where we are now.
I mean, to be fair, we probably would have run into each other at a bar or something like that.
Probably.
So,
We've got a lot of topics tonight.
we got some topics.
Yeah.
We got a few topics for the last several.
wait.
Yes,
Topics on what?
cars.
What is this that we're doing?
Oh, we gotta go there. Well, I guess you're listening to another episode of New for
96.
96. I'm gonna auto-tune that to be in unison.
Please do.
In post.
All
Yes.
right. Okay. Let's get right to it.
All right. That was quite the slap.
I was trying to.
I've asked you not to touch my table.
I was hoping that
with your
people.
greasy
I
palms.
was hoping they would hear the ice
Yeah. You
when
would've-
I rapped on the table.
You can toss the glass on the ground. They'll hear that, like you did last night. Anyways,
yes.
in one of our many heated arguments about, cars, of course. So I have been looking for a car. This is incidental. There's not like an actual time frame, like a cycle in which I buy cars. It's not intentional. Like it's not once a year. That is not my intention.
Okay. We don't
Once-
really care, but let's get to so what's the impetus to either replace the Mercedes? Like, do you want to talk about
Sure.
your
My 2013 E63 AMG wagon. I love it. It's a nice, it is a good solution for all. I wanted something that was fast, that felt a little bit special,
yes.
and was practical, even though I don't really need the practicality. It's nice to have it.
Yeah.
And
You said you wanted something with really stiff suspension and a recalcitrant transmission.
yes, and
Okay.
I got
And you
it.
found it.
And I found it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is an experience. It is an experience in which you have to put up with stuff.
Hmm.
So, while it is like very charismatic a car, it is equally as frustrating a car because of like the slow transmission. It's fast shifting for a not dual clutch, but it is really rough. And we've talked about this in a previous podcast, but like I'm so surprised that this is the transmission that they put into these cars.
Hmm.
And I thought it could have just been mine, but then going on the forums, like a lot of the new owners at the time or like secondhand owners are like, I think my transmission is broken, but it turns out this is actually how it behaves.
Is this the 7G Tronic or is that something
Yeah,
else?
this is the AMG MCT.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they are similar, except that this is a wet clutch.
Okay.
So multi wet clutch versus I think the other ones are torque converters.
Oh, okay. And
So
another feature is the wet wiring harness.
yes,
So
so
it keeps that
what
wiring
has led
harness
me?
fully lubricated.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I was planning to keep the car for a while. Like I like it enough to keep it for a while. It's special enough to where like I don't think I'm gonna find something like this again for a reasonable price. And I was gonna keep it, and then I brought it in for an oil change.
Did
And
you say oil change?
I am from Texas,
Okay. Carry on.
after all. How do you say it, you Yankee? He is from New York,
Oil.
actually. No, you're from Connecticut.
I'm from Connecticut. That's even more Yankee.
Oil?
Oil.
Oil?
Yeah.
All right, Popeye. Oil change. And so they came out. So last year they had changed out the camshaft solenoids because they had found that oil had penetrated through the camshaft solenoids and started making its way into the wiring harness. And so, in theory, this was to prevent any further
You really
penetration.
nipped that in the bud by
Yeah.
replacing that last year.
Yeah, and so this year they say, well, as it turns out, like it's penetrated even further somehow. Like that has only enhanced the straw-like motion of the oil into the wiring harness. So, and they found oil at the ECU connector and potentially in accessible places. Like I've been getting like a sensor error here and there, but they always clear and go away, and they don't come back, or at least not for a long time.
Hmm.
And it's likely that those are signs that oil has gotten to those sensors. So I have to basically it needs to be replaced, the wiring harness. Mercedes has just had the worst like history with wiring harnesses. Like in the 90s, it was organic
Right.
wiring harnesses.
Right.
And apparently this is so the oil in the wiring harness thing has been happening to many Mercedes models. It's not just the M157. Like this is going all the way back to like 2001 C classes from what I can tell in forum posts. So at the dealer essentially the average price for replacement is between $6,000 and $10,000.
Hmm.
And I cannot imagine if you own like a 15-year-old like C230 compressor, getting like a repair bill for $6,000 even, let alone $10,000, I guess.
Yeah.
So I got estimates on mine, and I don't think it's going to be that expensive, but it's still kind of substantial. And so I debated whether or not to just kind of call it quits on this. I like the car, like because we still live in the weird used car world right now. I could have just sold it to one of those services that buy cars. Like I would feel weird selling it to someone that I know with
Sure.
these issues. So
Yeah.
there was a dealership, an online dealership that was offering like a pretty reasonable value for
Yeah.
it. And they also had cars that I could have traded in and that would have made it an even, I guess, more enticing deal.
Hmm.
That, of course, is not the only thing that's wrong with the car. There is the...
We don't have that. We don't have that much time.
We've got a few hours here. Hang on.
Damn it.
Let's just put it this way. Like, there are a few things that I need to kind of clean up on the car. It overall, like, presents extremely well. It works extremely well. The airmatic suspension, which, again, I said that I never wanted, like, adjustable suspension again. At least anything involving air or hydraulics or whatever. So I began a car search.
Yes.
Yes.
Is this what we're working toward?
Yeah.
We're building
This
up
is where
to?
we are now.
Okay.
We're at the car search.
Okay. So
Where
topic
I spend-
one.
hours upon hours, like thinking like, oh, I know what I want. And then, 60 hours later, down a rabbit hole I go. I
Mhm.
know every single car that's listed on the market. I've done like all the research on it. It's terrible. I almost want to do the thing where you do, where you just blindly buy a car and whether it explodes on the way home or not. Yeah, it's happened to you, but you survived. So,
I've only flown to buy a car one time,
yes.
and yeah, sure, it started smoking on the way
Sure.
back.
Yeah.
So that's 100% of the times. But
Yeah.
next time's gonna be different.
Yes. And the time before that with the Prius, it was also fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the traction battery isn't like not really that necessary.
No, no,
So you survived that as well.
that's true.
Yeah. So we're gonna do kind of this. The list of cars that I have been looking at are it's not that long, but we're gonna do kind of a quick take
Am I
opinion
giving
thing.
you the takes, or
I
are
think you give me a quick take on that, and
Okay,
then
and then
I'll defend it in one sentence.
Okay.
So we won't drag this on.
Thank God.
Oh my God. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my Auto Trader saved cars. So this research, a lot of it is done on the toilet. And so,
We just lost our last listener.
yeah, let me tell
it was
you,
me, and I turned it off.
tens of hours a week are spent researching these things.
You should
So
see a nutritionist.
maybe. Hot take, quick take. I'm going to go through this list of cars that I have amassed here in my hours of research on the toilet.
Mhm.
And these are all the cars that I have saved so far as options. So
To replace
to
the
replace
E63 wagon.
to replace the E63 wagon. I'll put it this way. There should have been a more definitive criteria. Really, I wanted something that was less troublesome to upkeep
Yeah.
and like felt a little bit special. It didn't have to be like entirely special,
Yeah.
but just a little bit. And
Yeah.
so-
No, I see from your list your criteria is has 4 wheels. So
Four
no
wheels.
Polaris slingshots for you.
Yeah. So
All of
and-
these have 4 tires.
Yeah. Also, I was thinking like okay gas mileage should be a thing in there, but
Mhm.
as you will note going through this list, I think that has gone out the window. So
Yeah.
all right. So let's go through this. A G500. So an early 2000s G-Wagon.
You say they're very slow,
They're very slow.
but they also could have oil seepage.
They might also have the same oil seepage
I mean, I
issue.
think they're cool. I really like them.
Yeah. I think they're really cool, and I'm all on board with one, but I probably won't go down this route just because they're so slow. Like,
yeah.
I think
It
I
is
have
an
to do that.
icon.
It is
I
an
like
icon.
that it's an icon. But it seems like probably the prices on all of them are crazy.
Yeah, it's an icon though. Here's the thing. It is I think they're special, and I would love to get like a two-door one, but like if for daily driving purposes, like these are modern enough. I do think they straddle the line of douchebag though. So
Yeah.
that is probably something that I'm a little keen to not do. The next one up is a P38 Range Rover,
So
mid 90s and
Okay.
through 2001, I believe.
Yeah, it's cool. It's got the Mondial wheels, which I learned from you. They look very good.
Yeah. So the early ones had the Mondial wheels, and then the later ones, I probably would have gotten a later one anyways.
Mhm.
But so speaking of this, I was so enticed by this, but the one thing that I don't know that this is going to be less troublesome than the E63, and I would assume, I mean, these can be found like with 200,000 plus miles on them, so they go for a
Mhm.
while. Just what does it take? So, anyways, this is a bad idea because it's not modern enough. So,
Yeah.
wasted hours there. Next one was the L405. So I went ahead and just jumped down the genealogy of Range Rover.
Range Rovers. Yes.
So this would be the now just retired
2013 to now.
2013 to now. 2013s are like have dropped in price quite a bit, so they're pretty reasonably priced. What do you think?
I've always thought it was a great design.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's very comfortable. It's amazing interior.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong. It's not special like an E63 wagon.
Yeah.
You will look like every other River Oaks housewife.
Yes.
I guess that is pejorative. I don't mean it to be. I mean, I guess it is like sexist. But
You're
to
saying
say-
that I will look like a kept lady.
Yeah. If that was what came across, that's what I intended.
You could have said a female powerhouse of industry, but instead you went to the housewife.
Went to the housewife. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Anyways, you're right on that. So I went down this hole pretty deep as well.
Of course.
Ugh, these euphemisms. And the thing is, you're right. They're just not that special. They're too like new still, and I don't know. Like it just kind of blends into the background. I do like the supercharged. Like it's fast and it is capable as an off-roader, and I thought I would take it off-road. I like the history and I like the comfort that it would give. But so I think that for right now, I might revisit this down the line, but it is off the table.
Okay. Yeah. I saw a 996. I got.
You did see a
opinions.
996. I don't think that a 996 is. I just saved this one just because it was Vesuvius gray.
It's good.
So
It's like a purpley violet kind of.
yeah,
gray.
I thought it was just a cool like rare color, and I remember these on 993s. And
Yeah.
I actually have a die-cast of a Vesuvius gray one. Okay. The next one up is a Cayenne GTS 2013 plus with
Sure.
the
With
NAV8.
NAV8.
Yeah.
It's a cool car. I think it's special. To certain people, it's special.
Yeah, it is.
It's the most special Cayenne.
It's the most special Cayenne. It is a sportier, even though the turbo is faster. This is the one that is
It's
been
just like
labeled.
the more driver oriented.
It is more driver oriented. It's comfortable, has modern tech, safety features,
Sure.
and I went down this hole also very deep. And for the most part, the car doesn't need that much. So there are transfer case issues, this and that.
Do they all
But-
have the turbo wheels that you don't like?
No, this one does, which I don't like. Yeah. I don't know what wheels I would find preferable, but it wouldn't be these. The thing is, though, I never, like, outside of this search. So I forgot to mention that the other part is that we have terrible roads here, and this is why I'm looking so heavily at SUVs.
That's why I was gonna rule out the 996 because like a 996 is very. It's not that the ride is bad. It's just the interior does not do well with crashing over things, and I think it'd be very unpleasant. And it's like I always say with Boxster S ownership of 998, 986 generation, like you have to really love it because you were paying like Porsche 911 maintenance on this.
I agree. And that's just it. I don't know that my heart's there in a 996.
Yeah.
So, and back to the Cayenne just really quickly, like the only thing about these, I'm going to shelve this and that it's a possibility for a down the road, but I think I'm going to take it off the table because I don't think I've ever thought about these cars until I started searching. And so that to me kind of like, it kind of blends into the background for me. These are kind of like raucous, like they have a really good exhaust note. They drive better than they should for like a big, tall, fat thing. But I don't think it's where I want to be with this. The next one up.
It is iconic within the realm of Cayennes, but
Yeah.
it's not an icon car.
It's not an icon.
It's not an
I would
icon.
actually think that the first gen, which I would not ever buy, is more iconic.
Sure. Yeah.
Like the turbo, first gen turbo, or
Right.
even like a GTS manual
Or
would
Turbo
be really
S.
cool. Or turbo. Oh, a turbo S would be really cool.
That's what Harris just got.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He did just get one.
Yeah.
But he works for a Porsche shop and is a
Right.
Porsche mechanic.
Yes.
So he is undaunted by that proposition. So the next deep dive is the most realistic one. And I don't know why I went so deep down this particular car hole. An L322 Range Rover. Going back into the middle, in between the P38 and the L405. This would be the 2000 and what is that? 2002 or 3?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah, to 2012, and I would be focusing on the 2010 to 2012.
That was the era when I would like save up my pennies and
Yeah.
buy a $10 British car magazine
Yeah.
from Barnes and Noble, and the British. I mean, it was like the second coming of Jesus
Yeah.
when this vehicle came out because the entire British motor industry relied on the Range Rover to do well.
Yeah, no kidding.
It was a
And
very big deal.
It was
I
a
mean, and
huge
rightly
deal.
so. It was like a very revolutionary
Yeah.
SUV because it was like the first like really luxurious modern SUV.
Yeah, and this was like designed originally under BMW, and then
Yeah.
they sold it to Ford before it was even released.
But
Or
it
the
still
whole
had
brand.
BMW engines for the first
For
couple
the
years.
first few, before the first facelift of like 3 facelifts, it had like BMW bits from an E38
Okay, but didn't have the BMW
or
V8?
E39.
Did it have the BMW engine?
It did, yeah.
The Valvetronic 7 Series motor.
Yeah.
Wow.
the V8, and so it has like the same issues as that car does, and so the early ones, which I think are the best looking, honestly, like the release design, all the facelifts looks so good. It's so clean and intentional, but
And yet none of these are those.
none of these are those. These are, in theory, more reliable. These are the AJ V8s, so the Jaguar V8. It does have one catastrophic flaw. So the reason why I was focusing on these later years is that they actually do have like modern features like keyless go and radar cruise and like a more updated Land Rover infotainment and like surround camera, all this and that. Anyways,
This segment is called Hot Take, Quick Take.
yeah.
Just to remind you.
Yeah. Okay, so it does have one catastrophic flaw, which are
So
plastic.
just the way you like it.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I don't know that this fits the bill as far as reliability goes, but I think I have got it cornered. I think I know what this car would need. And so
Okay.
timing chain guides, plastic, when they break, that could be like a $6,000 job. But if that's already done, if I can find one that already has that done and it's not factored into like the selling price of the car, like as in someone tacks on an extra 6K to the value,
Right.
then it could be a thing. And the supercharged one is fast
Yeah.
and it's very capable off-road. In fact, it's basically, I think these are entering into kind of interesting territory. Like all the ones that are bad.
So you'll look like a divorced River Oaks housewife.
Yes, exactly.
On the prowl for the next wealthy man.
Yes. If you will. This is a strong contender. It is on the table. And the one last one that is also strongly on the table, and I'm rounding back to something that I had wanted a long time ago, and I don't know why, I just never went down this path, but a 997.
Yes, you've wanted a 997 for a long time.
Yes, and I don't know why I've just never gone down that path. I mean, now like 997, I've just gotten used to the idea that 997s are no longer like as cheap as they used to be.
Right. I
So-
mean, you were shopping, you were looking, and they were a little more attainable, and it was like you were like, I don't want to buy a very expensive second car just to tool around in.
Yeah.
It was not. Yeah.
It just it was never the right time,
Right.
like, for that
the time
car.
you may have bought one was when you bought your air-cooled Carrera. Like that was maybe the
Correct.
time where you would have bought one.
Yeah.
And you went a
And
different way, and so then
I actually
it's,
before I
it makes
bought the Land Cruiser, I actually was looking like I was going down the rabbit hole with 997s. This is before everything like blew up, and I almost did that. I'm rounding back to the idea again of either a point 0.1 or if I can find like a decent priced point 0.2. Those are especially blown up. And
there's so few.
there's so few of them. I did find one at that online dealership that may be a good deal on the wagon. I think it's still overpriced, and I just have to be willing. It just depends on how much overpricedness I am comfortable in this. I think right now it's a little bit more. It's been dropping in price though. Like they've overpriced it so much that I don't think they're going to sell it anytime soon. If it drops down to a certain amount, like I would be very interested in making that as the replacement car. That over the Range Rover. Because I think the Range Rover that's just kind of like an interim thing that's captured my attention, and I think it's kind of neat. I don't know if I would keep that one forever. I think I would keep this 997 forever.
I'll have to look through the archives of my magazines and stuff. I mentioned magazines before. Look to see if there's any head-to-head tests of the Range Rover versus the 997, like which was a better
I'm
better
sure there was a
buy.
comparo.
I'm sure that was like people cross-shop those a lot.
Yeah. So I don't know what title that would be under.
Yeah.
Sporty or sport
So
utility.
is that the full list?
That is the full list.
The hot take, quick take.
Yeah.
Is what this is called.
That's done.
Oh.
All the takes have been made, so you can shut up now.
God damn it.
All of that said, here's the thing. I think I'm going to keep the wagon.
Okay. All right. Can we go to the next segment? We have like 5 other segments.
That's the juicy twist at the end. Is that I think I'm going to keep the car. Here's the thing.
This is my third time hearing the twist.
Yeah. So here's why I think I'm going to keep the car is that like I don't think I'm going to ever find one again. Like they've stopped producing wagons just in general in America. You can still special order.
They've stopped selling V8s in America.
And stopped selling V8s. Yeah, they may have restarted that production
I don't
at some
think
point.
so.
Really? No.
They produce them, but they don't sell them in America. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna go explore. I'm just gonna restore this. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the car, like catastrophic, other than the wiring harness. So I'm just gonna get that done, get all the little like tiny things that need fixing fixed on it, and then just keep the car. And here's the thing: if I can find a cheap L322 Range Rover, and they are now at the bottom of the bottom of the depreciation curve. I wouldn't mind getting one just as kind of an off-road thing, and
Yeah.
explore that as like I don't know a camping vehicle. Even though I could use the wagon for that, I guess.
Yeah.
And also I'd have to learn how to camp, but
And you would park it on the street and not
I could
be
park
too
it on the
precious
street.
about it.
Yeah. I could park it on the street, and the security feature would be when it sinks down on its own wheels because the air suspension is given out, and
Yeah.
then no one can move it.
That's
So
right.
that is the car search.
Good.
And its
Okay.
current status.
So we're at minute 40.
Yes.
What else we got?
Well, hard to say, really. Let's see.
Oh, I wrote Ford Contour commercial. Okay, so this is a plea. This is sort of a call to action. I have this
Will you
thing.
act out the commercial so that we
I
can
can't.
understand?
Okay, here's the thing. I have this memory of a Ford Contour commercial from the 90s, obviously. The Contour pretty much only existed in the 90s. I
Yes.
think it ended in '02. But the first generation, the initial one, the world car.
The Mondeo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have this memory of this commercial where it was like people working on it. It was like a giant car. It was like kind of like a Gulliver's Travels type of thing,
Yeah.
motif, where it was like a giant car and all these people were like turning gears and producing it. Like, but it was enormous and the people were tiny. And
Yeah.
it was just showing this colossal $2 billion effort of the world car. And I cannot find this commercial.
Yeah.
Like, I feel gaslighted. I feel like this is a Mandela effect. Like, it doesn't exist. I can't find it. I've looked at literally probably 24 Ford Contour commercials on YouTube,
Yes.
and I cannot find this one.
What if it never existed?
You know, that is extremely likely,
Yes.
except I talked about this to, I would say friend of the pod, but he's not. A friend of me, Maury,
Yes.
Maury Motown Postal, and he remembers this commercial.
Yeah.
He even, when I started describing it, he said the Gulliver's
my
Travels
God.
thing.
This is like
he remembers it.
One of those
This is a heavyweight podcast.
Yeah, this is
a heavyweight.
a mystery
We gotta get Jonathan
podcast
Goldstein.
topic. Yeah.
But it's I don't know. So this is kind of like a plea if anyone else remembers this. Do you remember this?
No, I do not remember this. I think you're crazy.
Okay. Well, that was it. If
Yeah.
anyone knoes about this,
It sounds like
I need you to
terrible
call.
creative work too.
Yeah, this is an unsolved mystery.
Yeah.
No, it was really good. It was
Was this under Mondeo or Contour?
Contour. It was an American commercial. I
Okay.
saw it on television in like 1995.
Yeah.
Dozens of times,
Okay.
hundreds of times.
Yeah.
But I cannot find it on YouTube.
Do you think that the Fusion should have carried forward the Contour name because that was basically the Mondeo?
I think the Contour was a flop.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was. I think it
Was it?
sold. I mean, I think they sold a lot of them, but it was never like it never did what they wanted it to do.
It existed in a weird segment. It was like that in between class, like between compact and midsize,
Right.
I guess.
I mean, I think that the segment didn't hurt it because I think there's always people that want something cheaper than a Taurus that's
Yeah.
still like a functioning car and it doesn't have the stigma of being the bottom, like
Yeah.
the Escort.
yeah. So it's like the Ultima class.
It is,
Yeah.
and so I don't think that hurt it. I think it just never captured it. Like the first one was really bland, and then the facelift. I think it was a facelift. I don't know if it's a redesign. I think the
I think it was a
facelift.
facelift.
I think the facelift was like maybe polarizing. I don't know. It was just
Yeah, where it looked like an anime, like a mad anime character.
yes. Well, we all love the SVT.
And the SVT Contour is the best.
The SVT Contour is the best, and I have a lot of seat time in one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Your friends.
I got it. I think my first speeding ticket
Whoa.
behind the wheel of that.
Amazing.
The interior was so beige
Yeah.
as to literally make me sick to this day to think about it.
Were
It was
those
a very bad interior.
all manual?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's impressive because I think until the new Taurus, the like 92 Taurus came out, like that was manual only, and then they started offering an auto in the show. The Contour then was more of the driver's car if they offered it only as manual.
Yeah. I mean, it was a legit SVT joint.
Yeah. I remember all the comparos from that time too. Like it
It was like
good.
part of it was it had the these tires, these BF Goodrich G-Force TAs.
Yeah.
It had like the front end was so pointy.
I cannot believe you remember the tires.
Because I bought those tires to put on my Probe GT, but like the tires were so sticky,
Yeah.
and they were like 215. They weren't even 225 like on my car. They
Yeah.
were 215, and it just like pointed, like it had so much grip
Yeah.
at the front. It was
Wow.
it was great.
There was this photo that I have. I think I tweeted it. It was the Oh yeah, I tweeted it under the title. So it was the contour in the middle in a V formation. It was like a Comparo with uh, all of the kind of front wheel drive competitors at the time. Like
What would that be?
I guess it would have been like the four-door Integra,
Okay.
the I forget,
Sentra SER? Or is this kind of in
maybe.
between? Because they had an early one and a later one.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
I'll have to find the photo. I forget what the other what we should know the cars in the class, but I don't recall now off the top of my head. But anyways, yes.
when would this have been? Like oh one?
I guess it would have been early 2000s.
Yeah.
It had to been. So it would have just been like sporty front wheel drive
Yeah.
vehicles.
No, my friend Ryan, his mom had one because him and his dad kind of conspired to like, oh, we need to get this car and she needs to have it.
Wait, really?
And she liked it and she ended up loving the manual so much. So eventually like they gave the car to my friend Ryan and
Yeah.
he drove it and it got totaled because the body kit got damaged, which is a shame.
Ah,
But Ryan's mom like went on to go through a series of manual Honda Fits after that. Like she loved the manual so much after this car.
that's such a strange transition
It's
model-wise. So to go from a Contour to the Fits, I would almost think like the SIs would have been a
maybe, but I mean, I guess the Fit is like practical and still like zippy in its own way.
Yeah, I guess
don't
so.
know.
No, it's true. Like the Fit that Gen Fit like was extremely well received.
Yeah.
And I had a friend who had one and she just loved it to death. I mean, like it was like a good car
My
for
sister had the auto one. The first Fit looked really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It had the color keyed like headlight surrounds and
yeah. Hers was the iconic blue.
yeah, I had a coworker who had one of those too. So
I
the
had to
Contour
change
commercial.
her headlight bulb, and I had to take out I had to take off the front tire.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
That seems complicated.
yeah.
I'm constantly surprised by how easy it is to change out like Porsche headlights. Like in newer cars, the whole unit just comes out. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like it seems almost crazy that instead of like having to like cut up your arm reaching into like an engine bay, a tight engine bay,
Yes.
well, I guess it would be the trunk, but like the whole headlight just pops out with just like a little twist of the screwdriver, and then you replace the bulb and pop it back in.
Yeah.
Off to the next topic.
The new 928, and I spelled it NEU,
No
which
way.
is what I spell things that are new that I think suck. I think this new 928 is bad. I think it
As do I.
misses what is cool about the 928.
Yes.
I think it is. I don't know. I mean, it's not like this is not an official effort. It's someone
Yeah.
making a rendering and saying we're gonna make it. I don't know.
There
Whatever.
are too many like nods to new Porsches in it.
In it. Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
because it has like the center tack, it has like a center tack design that looks out of like a 992, and otherwise like
The
it,
gauges on the old ones suck.
oh, they did suck, but still like I don't know, like it's too. I don't like the body styling of it, and I mean they also removed like the coolest part, like so they do the pop-up frog lights, but
But they're bad.
they're
Because they look
bad.
like a robot penis, like holding it up. It's really stupid.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's also like it's got weird like box flares, which is
Yeah.
like so. The 928 is this like beautiful bar of soap that
Yeah.
has this face. I always equated with like a blue shark. Like
Yeah.
there's a kind of shark that's like this very like kind of pointy literally shark nose thing, and that just reminds me, well done, that just reminds me of the 928, this kind of shark, and I feel like having box flares on it just misses the point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's well, it like it was so the original design, especially the very first one in the 70s, was so like retro futuristic.
But it was just futuristic. It was just futuristic
Well, it's
because it was like no one had ever seen a car rounded like that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
this
It
predates
literally looks like a
the
spaceship.
rounded Taurus by
Yeah.
8 years.
Yeah.
Like everything was a box at this time.
Yeah.
And it was so impossibly curvy and smooth and,
Yeah.
and cool. And I just don't think this gets that. And then, as I told you, and I will now say on the pod,
Yes.
the night before this car was revealed to the public, I drove a 928 GTS to shoot it.
Yeah.
And I've driven one before, but this was the first time I spent like 3 hours with one.
Yeah.
And I really didn't like a lot of stuff about it.
Yeah.
It was very creaky, like when you clutched in with one pedal, like the other pedals moved. Like it didn't feel like a quality item.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing, like driving it in no traffic
Yeah.
on the highway, like it was like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Like there's all this torque. It doesn't matter what gear I'm in, because when it's a dogleg transmission, you're always
Yeah.
like, what gear am I in? What gear is the next gear? Whatever. But it doesn't matter. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's got so much torque. And then it's got the headlights, the frog headlights, there's when you're driving and the car is black and you've got these like little half globes that you see
that
are
would be so
reflecting
cool.
the world. And so on this one with the robot penis mechanisms, it's like, oh, well, we lost that. We lost this thing that was cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think it's
I agree.
dumb.
Well, like the modern interpretation, like I think the cool part about the headlights, and I've never actually, I don't think I've ever I've sat behind the wheel of 920s, never driven one, but I've looked out down the hood, but with the headlights down. So I've never seen them with the headlights up. I think that would be so special to see.
Yeah.
Those two orbs, basically.
The orbs, yeah, because it's not like a normal pop-up where
Yeah.
you see like the body, popped up. You see it's these orbs because they're rounded and glossy on the back, and it's very cool.
You lose that with this new one, and I feel like that is probably the most identifiable characteristic of that car, other than like its shape and the trapezoidal doors.
Yeah.
Like is the headlights, and you lose that in this one because they like try to thin it and make it like. I don't know. It's too modern of interpretation. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The whole thing is too modern.
It is. It's like this thing that we talk about,
Yeah.
and that I'm sure, in your industry, in interiors and furniture is, and we talk about this with Apple. It's people taking the wrong idea from the idea of minimalism,
Yeah.
and like subverting it and perverting it, where it's like, oh, like minimal is good. This is better design, and it's like it suffers. And it's worse.
What it is as well is like people trying to capture the magic that Singer created originally.
Oh,
where
yeah.
They've reimagined this thing, and no one like there's so many like misses because where people like Singer literally just made an old car, just like a new old car, but it's better and it's more engaging and
higher quality.
And instead, like a lot of these, like the L'Art.
Yes.
The L'Art one and this 928, maybe their missions aren't the same as far as like what they're trying to do, but ultimately
I think the mission is to charge $500,000 for it.
Yeah,
so that mission's
but you
the
lose
same.
out on the spirit of it. Like I feel like the Singers obviously like they captured the spirit and they enhanced it, and then with these, it's just kind of like, oh, it's just like it looks like a Tron car basically. And
Right.
So it's like, okay, so what if 928 but like 2044 or something? And so
Singer didn't like with everything visual. It's all just kind of a greatest hits of the 911. Like
Yeah.
they plucked the best things from a 35-year production run,
Yeah.
and they said these are the 993 brakes and the 73 RSR wide body flares, and there's very little that's. This sounds like a going against them, but there's very little that's like original. Like the original stuff is in the engine. The original stuff is like the materials used in the interior. But a lot of the stuff is like this is like a greatest
nods
hits.
to history.
A nod to the history.
Yeah.
The 928 is like a Tron car.
Yeah.
And we are seeing so many of these cars.
Oh my
where
God,
it's,
I know.
Where it's these resto mods where, as I said in a stupid tweet, but it's like 5 years ago we were like kind of asking. It's kind of like a conversation over beers, like what car would you Singerize if you could? And now people are doing that with all these cars, and they're all bad. There's like the Integrale thing that's bad. And there's like the not the Stratos. There's an 037. And it's like, they made so few 037s. Let's see 037. So it's like, to like at least make something that's attainable. No. It's $600,000. You can buy a real one for $500. But you can buy this fake shitty one for $600.
You know what? I'm gonna relate it to this. Maybe it's a loose relation, but when people do BMW engine swaps, you'll put like an S54 into something that never had one, or like a.
Are you talking about the 2001 M3 Baru?
Yes, or like a manual swap E38 or something like that, which I don't like the idea of that. But
No.
or if you make like basically an you put the S64 in there, S65, what's in the M5 E39?
I think it might be. I don't know.
Okay, that engine into the 7 Series, something like that. Anyways, so you could do that very tastefully.
Sure.
You basically are updating, you're creating a car that the company would have made but never made, but it never stops there. You don't just do the engine swap. You all of a sudden have to like make people aware that this is different. And so you put terrible headlights in it, you put terrible wheels on it. You can't just do a simple modification. It has to be overboard.
Well, that's like this isn't really the same analogy, but I always say if you see a yellow Integra Type R that looks stock, it's real.
Yeah.
It's not fake.
Yeah.
Because if it was fake, they wouldn't stop at making it stock.
Yeah,
They would
you
keep
are
going.
right about
like
that.
if you're gonna do the conversion to
Yeah.
to paint it yellow, like
Yeah.
you're going to do more.
You're gonna do more. Like you cannot just stop with making it like factory spec.
Mm-mm.
Like that is impossible. So
Yeah.
yeah, so these cars are even more to that extreme, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Well, I
it
think
is
we
what it is.
covered that. Oh my God, you've got this picture.
So I pulled up a picture.
Oh my God.
So bringing us back to the conversation about the Contour. So I found this picture. So it's a Comparo. I don't recall. I think it's a Car and Driver one. So you got it's a V formation, Contour in the front,
the SVT.
flanked by the Integra, and I assume just a like.
I cannot tell what the fuck that is. It looks
It's an
like it's
Audi-
a Passat.
It's an Audi
No,
A4.
because that's a Jetta.
That's a Jetta in the back. So this is the Audi A4. I assume this is the 2.8
Wait,
VR6.
what is that on
That's
the
a
left?
Saab 900.
Oh God. Okay. So it's an A4 and then the Jetta.
This
or
is like
Passat.
the Contour is in good company here, though. Like as far as like front wheel drive cars go, performance cars or performance-ish cars. It's an A4. I assume it's the 6-cylinder, and then maybe the Jetta is a VR6.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Saab is either a turbo, the terrible V6 that I had.
Your caption is the understeering committee,
Yes.
and that is very good. It's very good. Yeah, we
So-
will post that.
Yes. And
Everywhere.
so there we go. So back to
Back to the list.
the list. Speaking of Audis.
Speaking of Audis, we were having this discussion about Audi, and it's just I used to have a real chip on my shoulder about Audi because I never really liked Audi. I liked Audi's good era, which is represented by the models here.
Yes.
3 out of your 40 plus collection.
Yes.
But the Audi, like, the early 2000s, like, those are some good cars. I hate the B6 A4. I think that one's dog shit. But
I don't mind that one.
And I like some of the ones. I like the kind of 2010 era. Some of those.
Yeah.
I used to always say I wanted to always write about this, but I never did. Like Audi,
Yeah.
their design philosophy. Let me go on this. Their design philosophy was very interesting because they had they would introduce a concept car in 2004. Like I remember clearly the Nuvolari concept.
Yeah.
They would introduce a concept car in 2004, and then that would be like, calling their shot, you would say. They would call their shot, and they say, this is where we're going to be. And then 2010, it's like the A5 looks like the new Volare.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like that. And when they updated, I loved the facelift A5, where the headlights got smaller.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then after that, they didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah.
And and now it's like, you look at Audi, and it's like, well, we added a zigzag to the headlights, because we don't really know where to go. We kind of peaked in, 2013.
So is that when Audi died for you?
I think that they were really firing on all 4 or 5 cylinders in 2015 or 14, I think.
Sure.
And then I think since then it's been just kind of like, well, we've made it busier.
Yeah.
People like that. But
Yes.
I really thought that the A5 facelift was really good. I liked some of those cars. I liked some of those, I think the R8 early iterations of the R8 were great. Anyway, I did have a chip on my shoulder about Audi because I never really took them seriously as drivers' cars, and I always saw people that were car enthusiasts that would treat them in the same company as BMW, Mercedes, and I somehow, for stupid reasons that are I don't need to go into, maybe you and my therapist could go into those, but I don't really know why, but I took it very personally, like obviously, don't you know, I felt like the need to scream, if not explain to people online, that a car that is all-wheel drive chassis is fundamentally not as good as a rear drive chassis.
No,
because
and they're
it doesn't
front
have to be,
biased.
because it's front. Even if it's front biased, even if it's rear biased, it's like if a car is designed to only have to take 60% to the rear wheels. Like it's not as rigid and
Sure.
good and dynamic
Yeah.
as a rear drive chassis that is designed properly. So Audi never ever seemed like they were drivers' cars to me, and I never really saw them as such.
I agree with you on that. Like
But I feel like there was a lot of people, techie people, internet people,
So this
car
is-
enthusiast
this is
people.
the conversation.
This is the
Yeah, this is
conversation.
where we're
I'm
going with
getting
that.
to it. I'm getting to it. So you had your hot take, quick 45-minute take.
No, we're going to the angry part where I have to turn Kevin's levels down because he gets like real loud and
You want to
spitty.
go lower than that. So there was always a lot of people that were very into Audi, and I generally I think did not sell. I don't like to tell people, especially online, like the thing you like sucks.
Yeah.
But I would think it
You-
a lot.
Like to actually say that often and
just
do.
to you. But
Sometimes you're like, no, this sucks.
maybe. But yeah, this is like the deep-seated thoughts I've had about Audi.
Yeah.
But we find ourselves now at a time where Audi seems completely irrelevant, and
Yes.
you and I realized why
Yeah.
yesterday. Audi, no one really cares about Audi. I mean, I think the
'Cause
design
what
has
is-
the design has stumbled, and
What do they
they add
present?
notches to
Yeah.
headlights and stuff, and it just they're not really doing anything. But
Cuts, angles.
angles.
It has become like this, like they're trying to project this like techie, cutting edge
Which
look.
they've had.
Yeah.
They've had that image. They've ridden on that image, but it does seem like they are. And this sounds like very doom and gloom. I don't mean for it to sound like that, but it does seem like it is circling the drain, where it's just like they're just kind of going through and doing the same things they were doing. They're kind of refining the 2013 designs.
Yeah, and the thing is that we've talked about this in this context, but why is it that people still buy Audis?
But we
And
don't know that people do. We don't really know that people do, but no one talks about Audis now, and we know
so
why.
I do think that people do, but it is literally like it's the same type of people who might buy like a CLA because like it has just a Mercedes badge on it, but I think Mercedes has more chops than that. But for Audi, I literally think it has become it's like a fashion brand, and we're going to relate this to another brand.
But I feel like Audi's not really in the discussion. I never see anyone talking about it. I never see
Oh, no,
anyone
that's just
exciting
it.
about it.
No, that's it. You don't hear enthusiasts ever talk about Audi. That is true. I think lay people who
Sure.
are looking at premium cars
Right.
or like premium look cars, they're going to look at an Audi.
But 8 years ago, enthusiasts did talk about Audi.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah,
I
I
wanted
agree.
to scream at them because they shouldn't. But we know why.
Yeah.
Because all of the people that were into these
Well-
Audis have moved on to what?
Teslas.
The demographic of
Yes.
an Audi S5
Think about
buyer.
Think about the angriest people that you will argue with on the internet about something that they're wrong about, and now
Those
imagine,
people
yeah, they were
mass.
They used to argue about Audis, and now they argue about Teslas.
completely.
Yes,
It's
And
crazy.
It will not. They will die on this hill. They will just fight you to death about it. That these are the best cars in the entire world. You know, despite this, despite that, despite how there are so many better cars out there, they will die on this hill. And it's the same thing. So the tech bro from the early 2000s who bought an Audi is the same tech bro today who will buy like a Model 3.
Absolutely, because they care about image and technology and like UI and you know the perception, which is the image, like
Yeah.
that. Like those things, the Audi does that, or
Yeah.
the Tesla hits the same notes that
could-
Audi did.
It doesn't matter. Like someone who sees a Tesla, they already have an image of what it is. And so like a Model 3 might as well be a Model S. Like it doesn't really matter like what it is. It is just uniformly a Tesla. And I feel like Audis were kind of the same way.
I think the S cars had their own appeal with like
Yeah.
the quasi
Yeah.
people that thought they were enthusiasts.
I just think like there are differences in other cars. I mean, I could be wrong, but like
I think you're wrong. I think there was a time where they were defined, and I think there was a time where the
know, I
whole
agree
lineup
with
was
that.
really strong and really defined.
whether it's big or small, like right now, I could not tell. Like we were having this discussion because I like was being tailgated by an Audi driver
Right.
yesterday.
Currently, we cannot tell any of
And
them
I could not
apart.
tell
We
you
cannot
which
tell any
one
of them
that
apart.
was.
Yeah. Well, especially because they made the A7 look like all the others. They
Yeah.
made. I've never seen an A8
Yeah.
since 2007 on the road.
Yeah.
Because no one has bought one. But
And I think the A8 is probably the last unique, one of the last unique Audis
I
out there.
literally don't know what it looks like. And don't bring it up.
It's just big and it
I mean,
has
like, don't
the
bring up the
corporate
picture.
face. But yeah, nevertheless, like so the Audis that I have like right here on the table, the model cars. For me, I think Audi died a little bit sooner than that. But like Audi used to have like truly unique offerings, like the Allroad, the original Allroad
Yeah,
was so unique.
totally.
It did Outback better than the Outback. It's this lifted wagon with cladding, and it had a V8 and a manual, or you could get one with a V8 and a manual, and it was unique looking,
Yeah,
yet discreet. Like
sure.
the design, I think what Audi had to offer was that like they were it was restrained premium design. You did not need flair
Right.
to project premium quality, etc., whatever. And so, anyways, yeah. So there's also an RS2 and then an S4 as well.
It was such a geometric precision era.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
Yeah, every line made sense, and the sizes are so good too. I mean, like I know you don't really like the RS2. I've heard that neither of us have driven one, but I have heard that they're basically extremely normal to drive, especially by today's
It's
standards.
just something about it. It just looks like they're the pre-A4 Audis. I just don't give a shit
Sure.
about.
But the story is cool.
the story's very
The
cool.
story's
The
cool.
story's
That's,
really cool.
That's the whole romance
Absolutely.
of having
Absolutely.
one.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. It even has like 964 cornering lights.
And mirrors.
And mirrors, yeah.
Yeah, and wheels.
So, and
It's
wheels,
cool.
yeah.
It's cool. No, it's cool.
So, anyways, Audi is the new Tesla. I think this
Audi's
is
the new Tesla. It's the same buyer. It's the same
same bar.
demographic.
Yep.
And I don't think anyone's going to come after me about this because those people like
might
they're like, well, I want to argue, but I'm driving a Tesla now. Now I have a Model Y.
They're not going to argue with you, but they might dox you. So
They probably will dox me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go on Reddit for a while.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, what can you do?
What
So,
can you do?
yeah.
I think we have
One last topic.
one last topic. Wow, this could have been integrated earlier, but
Maybe.
no, I don't know. We talked about when we went to Radwood.
Yes.
With a friend of the show, a friend of us, Chris Perkins, we ended up talking about values of cars, values of Porsches, and this kind of stuff. Like for a longer discussion than I have ever been comfortable with, because I do not like talking about the values of Porsches,
Right.
911s, and whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's not what I'm in it for. That's not
Sure.
what I'm interested in. Like same with you. I know it's not like we care that much. It's not like we stress that much or dwell on what things
Yeah.
cost or are worth. But it is obviously like when you're talking about any kind of used or when you're talking about any kind of performance car, in these eras that we love and Radwood era and whatever, what things cost just comes up now
Sure.
because of things are crazy right now.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, it's hard not to notice that at one point in time, this car used to cost $25,000, and now it costs $100,000.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think we were talking about the 308 being, like it used to be, in the $30,000. Ferrari 308 used to be in the $30,000, high $30,000, and now they're more. And and I think Chris made it seem like they took off stratospheric, and it's like that's a recent thing because
Yeah.
I think that was one of the last cars to do that. You
Yeah.
look at the market, and I think so. We came to the theory that the 964 is kind of the bellwether for the whole industry.
Yeah.
Whereas like that is maybe the first car to rise, and kind of the indicator for everything else.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, it is like the craziest prices. I'm not saying everything's going to follow that, but when 964s drop in value, that's when the whole market is going to tank.
I would say
Everything else will tank before
I'll
that,
agree with
and
you. I
everything
think
else is going up after that.
I think the latter is more true than the first, because it's hard to say. I don't know if like it was an all tides thing, but 964s for a while, even like when you were looking at your car and I was looking at my car, I remember seeing 964s for like reasonable prices. And like for some reason, in my opinion, they were kind of like they were forgotten in the rise for a moment. And I think that 993s and then impact bumpers went like those like caught on much sooner
I
than
think that
964s.
they took off. I think they took off right before.
Do you think so? Like
I
I just think like 964s like were not
because I think around that time, we're talking like 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
I think there was some prominent people that said actually the 964 is like the best one. It's the most mechanical. It's the
Sure.
most this. And I
It's
think a lot of people responded
the most
to
transitional.
yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I don't know. Like I'm just working off of memory. I just remember seeing like I didn't like the 96. I like the 964 now. I didn't like it
I go back and
then.
forth all the time.
Yeah, it's just like the looks are. I like the idea of the 964. Like it literally is the transitional model between like Impact and 993. Like
Yeah.
it has the old body shape, but it has like modern internals, and it's unique in that way. But then also it's like mid morph in a way
Right.
because
Well,
the
it's
bumpers are protrudy.
they're so protrudy. It looks so narrow.
Yeah.
But it's like, what about the wide body? Well, they didn't make any of those. They
Yeah.
made like 8.
Yeah,
And they're all
yeah.
$1 million now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so narrow looking because it is longer than a G model
Yeah.
because the bumpers protrude, but it is the same width.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to confirm this because I like.
Yeah,
I just remember like 993s, and I didn't care for 993s then, and now I do. But I do remember those like, well, they're too expensive anyways, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna forget about those. And then like impact bumpers were like slowly on the rise, and then I just remember 964s just sitting there. They were always worth like about $30,000 to $40,000.
I don't know about that.
So
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we could at least find a time frame where that's true.
Yeah.
We could each find a time frame for that's true.
But
I don't know.
overall, yeah, I honestly don't know.
But they
like,
definitely at some point they shot up and it became like 60 was the medium, and now it is
Now
crazy.
they are-
it's like 100
they
or
are
something
the,
for
like,
a Carrera 2.
It is insane. You look at BAT auction results, and the six-figure 964C2 market is very common now. So long
That's
as you have
crazy.
reasonable miles and it's not trash, it's gonna go for 6 figures.
That's
And that's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say other than like, well, those are gone. I mean,
Yeah.
and Singer did probably have like a part in this because they had bought up so many of them. And so they made it a scarce commodity.
Sure.
So it is what it is. What are you going to do?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
are you gonna do? I do have one more thing.
Yes.
I got a comment on my YouTube. I'm pausing for applause. Hold for
Yeah.
applause.
How much money can you make if you enter into this deal with this person? If you follow this plan that they are offering you?
What?
This is a joke on like how like people will comment like you can make $9,000
Oh,
doing
I don't
this.
get those comments.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start doing that.
Okay. So someone commented
Yes.
on my 911 SC controls video, which is a video where I
Received
kind
a
of
lot of ire.
I kind of like joke about how like stupid the interior is laid out
Yeah,
because they
it
just
is.
literally like added shit wherever, and a
Yeah.
lot of people were really mad about it and
Yes.
continue to be mad. So whenever someone sees it, like there is the majority of time I'll get someone and they just bought an SC and
Yes.
they actually looked at this and they're like, this was really helpful, thank you. And it's so cool. It makes my day. I
Yeah.
personally reply to that person. I'm like, wow, you didn't just scream at me for making jokes about the car.
Yeah.
Like you actually took something from it, and it's very cool.
You're
But
making a difference.
but this one guy, he's like I grew up with like old VW Beetles in the 60s and 70s, and so the heating controls made sense to me. He's like,
Yeah.
I got it because I came from that. And he's like, I was really disappointed to see that Porsche would just drill a hole somewhere to like add something instead of, he's like, Volkswagen would cast a new part or whatever.
Yeah.
They would do something different. And it made me think. Like, it was interesting. He's like, I guess, he's like, I know they were saving money and, whatever.
Porsche
but
didn't
like,
have any money then.
exactly. But it just got the gears turning just thinking about this comment because Porsche didn't have any money.
Yeah.
But you look at the Porsche 911 where it was at, it was almost canceled in 79, 80. And then instead it was kind of a hit. And then you look at the 80s, like it was a cultural icon.
Sure,
like
yeah.
the 80s 911 was an icon. It was an accidental hit.
Yeah.
They got money
Yeah.
for making the car, but like they put that money into developing the 964 and 993
Yep.
and adding more comfort and convenience and things.
Yes.
And comfort and drivability.
Yes.
Comfort and drivability. You look at the SC to Carrera shift, and that's more comfort, more drivability. You look at the 930, which got a lot more drivability
Yeah.
as the 80s went on. And I know from our friend Jordan, like the 930 got improvements almost every year
Sure.
in the 80s.
Yeah.
To make it more drivable and less
Killy?
widow. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
let's kill it. I like that. So it's just an interesting little like thought experiment of just they were making money
Yeah.
on the car. They started in 79, they had no money. '81 they probably had no money, but eventually they were making money with the car.
Sure,
But it's
yeah.
like, where do you put that money? You still have limited funds. You've got this car that still has like an expiration date on it. Maybe not now, but maybe in 10 years or
Yeah.
5 years.
You put the money into like the thing that sells the car, and it was not like the
A bespoke
sunroof
dash.
Yeah, the sunroof like switch
Button.
in a logical place. Say for instance, yeah,
Right. VW, in 1967 or whatever, is doing volumes where it's like, we have to make a new die for this. Well, it's like, we have to make a new die every year because we make
a million.
yeah, we make
of them.
500,000
Yeah.
of them, so we have to make a new die because it's going to wear out at
Yeah.
the end of the model year. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah, no, that completely makes sense.
But thought that was an interesting little
Yeah.
thing, little bit of
Look
insight.
at you making a difference, and
I am making a difference.
congratulations on reaching 100 subscribers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a hard journey. I asked you to create 11 accounts.
Yes.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
To
Most of those have been banned,
to
but yes.
subscribe.
So no, Kevin has reached 10,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Thank you. This is the first time you've ever said something truthful on the show.
Is it? I just made up
Yes.
that number, but okay. Yeah. So-
Broken clock is right twice a day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I think that's it.
I think it's a podcast. So
What are we at, 4
thank you
hours?
for listening. Yes. Yeah. To all of you who are not like now like just burnt out skeletons sitting with headphones on, thanks for listening. And do look at our Instagram at New for 96.
We are on Twitter.
as well.
With mostly the same content,
Yes.
but maybe a couple more retweets.
Yeah, if you will.
And,
And email us if you must at new496 all spelled out
Yep.
at Gmail. And that's all we got.
That's what we got.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.